大家好，欢迎收看联合国周报，我是主持人鲍嫣然。今年，联合国秘书长安东尼奥·古特雷斯曾明确指出，对 LGBTIQ 社群的每一次攻击，都是对人权以及我们所珍视的价值观的冲击。他承诺，联合国将坚定地与 LGBTIQ+ 社群站在一起，并将继续努力，直到世界上所有人的人权和尊严都得以保障。据资料显示，目前已有131个国家承认了同性关系的合法化。今年6月，纳米比亚高等法院裁定之前的一项将同性关系定为犯罪的条款，实则违背了宪法。这一决定与近年来南部非洲法院的一系列判决达成了一致，并被联合国艾滋病规划署称为所有纳米比亚人平等人权的重大胜利。在本周的节目当中，我们将讨论 LGBTIQ+ 社群所面临的挑战，并关注联合国在保护这一群体方面所发挥的作用。同时，我们也邀请了相关的专家来讨论非洲地区 LGBTIQ 社群所面临的现状。首先，请让我们跟随 UN Weekly 主持人 Connor Lennon 去了解联合国是如何落实对 LGBTIQ+ 社群的保障工作。
So the work ranges from, the UN Free and Equal campaign, which was launched some 10 years ago and really tries to raise awareness of these issues, of the human rights violations faced by LGBTIQ+ persons, but also raise support and increase public support also to address these issues. We also work at country level in more than 40 countries where we've designed programs in partnership with local organizations, with local authorities, to address the issues that are faced by LGBTIQ+ persons in each context, which will vary. There's different priorities, different issues in different countries. There's different parts of the community that face different issues, whether it's, lesbian, bisexual, and queer women who face, particularly elevated levels of sexual violence in some places, or transgender persons who face denial of recognition of their identity, intersex children that face harmful medical practices when they're children. So really trying to zero in on the specific issues faced by different parts of the community.
Yeah, so huge amounts of work going on across the whole UN system. Now, obviously, it's the setbacks, it's the repressive laws that make the headlines. But if we look at the trend, it does seem that things are improving. I mean, same-sex relationships now, I think, are legal in 131 countries, which might be many more than some people think. So I assume that for you, this is an encouraging trend.
No, absolutely. I think overall, the trend is positive, but it really depends on the country. And I think what we see is overall a broadly positive trend with some really wonderful developments. Just in the last years, we've seen the pace of decriminalization of consensual same-sex relations increasing. So, just in recent years, countries in Asia and Africa and the Caribbean decriminalizing. We've seen increases in protection from discrimination, in employment. These were all, the picture 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, was very different. And we've really seen a sea change in some of these areas. But the gaps are still there. So we still have 60 or more countries that criminalize consensual same-sex relations. As you say, it's much less than it was some decades ago, but it's still, a significant number. Protections have increased against discrimination. Now, close to 40% of countries have protections in place, but that still leaves 60% of countries without. And often, some parts of the community are better protected than others. So, for example, we see protections on discrimination based on sexual orientation being much higher, and protections for transgender persons or intersex persons are lagging behind. We have much fewer countries where those protections are in place. We've also seen positive developments in combating hate crimes or recognizing same-sex couples or recognizing the gender identity of transgender persons. But there's still a lot of room for progress. And even in those countries where we have seen these positive changes in laws, the lived realities of LGBTIQ+ persons often lags behind. So you may have the protection in place, but that doesn't mean that people don't face discrimination in their day-to-day job or they don't face violence.
从视频当中，我们可以看出，联合国正在努力保护 LGBTIQ+ 社群，也取得了一些积极的成效。但实际上，这仍然是一项艰难的任务。许多社群当中的人正在遭受误解、 侮辱、霸凌甚至暴力。Conner 与联合国新闻西班牙频道的 Beatriz Barral 谈论了目前在非洲发生的有关同性伴侣以及 LGBTIQ+ 社群发生的事件，让我们以非洲为例，更进一步去了解这个群体的生存状况。
I'm going to start with Colombia again. So we've been sharing a campaign that the mission has done with civil society organizations, and it is called Paz de todos los colores, like peace in all colors. So what they try to say is that the LGBTQI community should have their voices heard in the construction of peace in Colombia. So this peace agreement is quite groundbreaking because it's the first one that include references to gender and to LGBTQI discrimination and violence. And in Colombia, there is this special tribunal. It's called the Special Jurisdiction for Peace. That is, like investigating and prosecuting the human rights violations committed during the conflict, the decades-long conflict. And for the first time, they are also looking, they have what they call macro cases. They have 11 micro cases, and one of them is dedicated to gender-based violence and to the violence that gay, transsexual, lesbian people suffer from all the armed groups in the country.
Right, so it's a laudable aim, of course, but it's also a reflection, as you say, that there were some pretty horrific things that happened during the Civil War years.
Yeah. They were, and we don't know the extension really. This tribunal, they have documented like 6,000 crimes, but they are probably much more because there's still, like a lot of shame and a fear of reprisals. So it's probably much bigger. So our stringer in Colombia interviewed the director of Colombia Diversa, which is an NGO. Her name is Marcela Sanchez, and she was telling us how important is that the peace agreement really gets implemented, that there are laws to protect the LGBTQI community and to prevent impunity, because it's not only an issue from the past, it's still going on. In 2023 alone, 8 human rights defenders from the LGBTQI community were killed under different circumstances. So the UN is joining efforts with NGOs in Colombia to support all these efforts to end impunity, but also to protect right now the people who still suffer violence in some areas of the country.
And just a few days ago, I think it was just last week, UNAIDS put out a very positive press release. They were commending the work of the Mexican government, which has banned something called conversion therapy. Just explain what that's about.
Well, conversion therapy is supposed to cure homosexuality or as it was, a disease, which of course is not. And PAHO, which is the Pan American Health Organization, has repeatedly said that there is no medical ground for these therapies. So yes, Mexico has banned these therapies, and UNAID applauded the decision because they said it's not only a human rights issue, it's also a public health issue. Because when people are shamed and when people are persecuted for who they are, they don't ask help, or they don't have the same access to public health services like HIV testing, HIV treatments. So it's also like a very important health issue, not only human rights. And if you let me mention, this is the English-speaking Caribbean, but also there's been a wave. Dominica was the last country that decriminalized same-sex relations, and is the 6th country in the English-speaking Caribbean that has done that recently. So there's been some progress.
联合国致力于维护世界人权的平等，并将始终与 LGBTIQ+ 社群站在一起，但这也需要每一个人的努力，少一分误解，多一些尊重。如果你想了解更多我们本周讨论的话题，可以关注我们的完整版节目 UN Weekly， 或者在视频下方的信息栏中找到相关的视频链接，去了解更多联合国对 LGBTIQ 相关讨论。感谢您的收看，我们下周再见。